what I'm going to review here today is a range of funders. These are general and they are also specific to wellbeing, because there's a mix of people here today. So this is a generic presentation. If you want support from CNT or any of our partners, what we will do is we will come up with a customized program to support you. Find funders that are relevant to your project or business, and then write relevant bids, but more about that later. I'm going to go through the funding presentation right now. This is a bit about us. I'm the director of CNT Associates. This year is our 20th year in business. I've been the managing director for 10 years, and I work with a number of other colleagues, including my colleague Caroline Skelly, who some of you know, and we work with a range of other people, including Sybil, who is on the presentation today. And in the last 20 years, we've raised over £30 million for the organisations that we work with. We also provide a range of business support and training. For more information about that, look at our website, cntassociates.com. I'll put all our details in the chat a little later. So the purpose of this workshop is to give you an overview of wellbeing funding and where to access it. There's a whole range of funders here, including charitable trusts, central local government funding, lottery funding, and a range of others. As I said earlier, this is a generic presentation, so we cover a wide range of funders. But if you want targeted support, then please get in touch with us after the presentation. There are basically 6 sources of funding for wellbeing projects. I've categorized them like this. You've got central, regional, and local government funding, so that's the government, your local authority. If you're in London, it's the Greater London Authority, and then depending where you are in the regions, because I know we've got people from all over the UK today, there are other regional funders, depending on how local government is constituted. There are also many charitable and trust funding organisations, which I'll talk a bit about later. Then there's the lottery funds, which many of you will know about. Crowdfunding, which is a new form of fundraising through donations, basically. Then you've got private sector funding. There are many big businesses that have their own charitable trusts or foundations. And then what's called social investment. This can take various forms. Sometimes it's grants, sometimes it's loans, and sometimes it's a mixture of both. For those of you that don't know, a grant is a sum of money for a project that is non-repayable. Loan funding for a project is repayable like any other loan. I'm going to start off with my top 5 funders, because this can be fundraising is a big subject. It can, to people who are new to this, it can seem overwhelming sometimes. So where to start? Well, here's some good places to start. The Culture, Health and Wellbeing Fund, that covers a whole range of wellbeing funding organisation, and is a good reference point. That organisation doesn't actually fund things directly, but it's a good index of wellbeing funders. Again, another similar site is one called Charity Excellence, which is very highly regarded, and there's a whole range of information on charitable trusts and related support for wellbeing projects. Another one that I would recommend, we use this ourselves, is another one called Grants Online, which is an organisation that provides a whole range of information on funders of all types. And there is a paywall on that site. You can get some free access, but if you want to get actually directly to the websites and the other links that they review, then you have to pay, but you can view them for free. And if you're really short on funding, look at them and then Google the name of the fund afterwards. But we subscribe to that, and I would recommend people to have a close look at it. Another one is called the Edge Fund, which often funds projects that nobody else will consider funding, of all different types, you know, whether they're controversial or they're for social groups that are often overlooked. So the Edge Fund is another interesting one. And then, of course, one that you probably, most of you will have heard of, the National Lottery. The National Lottery has about 14 funding strands within it. The one I've highlighted there, and I'm going to talk about it a bit later, is the Smallest One Awards for All, where you can get funding of up to £10,000. So there's some good places to start your funding search. Of course, there's two elements to fundraising. One is finding the funds that you need to apply to or might support your project, and then the other is writing a bid. For those of you that are interested in that, we are going to be running a presentation on that next month called Bid Writing for Beginners. We'll go through some of the processes on that. But of course, if you want professional support, we do provide that, and we do write bids for a price. More details about that later. Here is another one that may be of interest to some of you. It's called My Funding Central. Again, there is a paywall on this, but if you're a small organization and it is kind of self-analysis, really. They'll take your word that you're a small organization or an individual. You may not have to pay. And again, you can do a customized search on that site, and I would recommend it. It's the one that we utilize regularly. But there is a charge on that for some larger organizations and medium-sized organizations. But again, very much worth checking out. It covers a wide range of funders of all different types. Here are a few slides now of actual funders that will fund specific projects in well-being and sometimes health and well-being. This first one is called London Catalyst. And it supports new initiatives and service developments targeted at people who are disadvantaged as a result of long-term ill health, disability, and poverty. It's quite an easy application to write that. These are small grants ranging from £1,000 to £5,000. In 2019, the average was £3,000. They will make the occasional larger grant depending on the project idea that is submitted to them. Here is another one. This is a strand of the lottery. This is for community businesses of various types, some of which are called social enterprises. And this is a fund. All of the funds we're looking at today are subject to change because with the exception of the lottery, there's often a lot of changes on these funds. But this community business fund has a fund of between £10,000 and £20,000 to support community businesses. Look at the website for more information. The link is there. And they also have some bigger funds, up to £300,000 in funding support, but it does depend on what you do and how your organisation is constituted. Here's a few slides now for women led projects. There's a lot of women on the call today, and CNT supports a lot of women led businesses, and we're pleased to do so. This is a more general fund first, or project first. This is from an organization called Enterprise Nation, who supports startups. It's run by a woman called Emma Harris, and Enterprise Nation is the biggest private sector business support organization in the UK. They're actually having a startup event because they have an annual one. This year it's on January the 28th in London, and I would recommend that. That's a very big event. So Google Enterprise Nation for more details on that, but that's on the 28th in London. This is one of the projects they've got called the Enterprise Nation Female Startup of the Year. The next event, because it's an annual event, may be in February. It's usually around about that time, but again, check the Enterprise Nation website for details, and they have a range of prizes for people, and of course they have the publicity of being a winner of this project, of this competition. Here are some of the previous prizes, including Facebook advertising credits, quarterly business mentoring for a year from KPMG, one of Britain's biggest accounting firms, and a range of other support, and of course the title of Enterprise Nation Female Startup of the Year. Here is another one. This is more for non-profits. This is an international fund, so it's subject to change. It's called the Global Fund for Women, and it funds any woman-led project worldwide, but they do focus on certain parts of the globe at certain times, so you need to check that out. But your organization must be a woman-led organization. But again, that is a very big funder and has been around for many, many years. Here is a UK-based one. Again, this is subject to change. This was for a fund that finished last month, actually, because many funders have different projects and funding programs, and they change quite a lot. This was an organization called, or a program called the Rosa Fund, which is supported by the Rosa and Smallwood Trust, the Women Thrive Fund, and again, it can supply grants up to 15,000 for organisations with a turnover up to £200,000. So it's between £1 and £200,000, and then £200,000 plus. You could get grants of up to £40,000. For the terms and conditions, because all of these funds have terms and conditions, you need to look at the website, because again, they can often change. But this fund supports women and girls organisations, particularly starting with the pandemic that led to declining mental health, increased risk of emotional trauma, and increased poverty levels, which are the biggest concerns for women and girls across the UK. So a very, in my opinion, a very worthwhile organisation and funder, and it deserves to be supported. But there are some significant grants from that organisation. One of the two mentioned there is the Smallwood Trust. This is another organisation that provides funding. This is a previous example of something that Smallwood Trust provides. It does provide some emergency grants to women who have personal or financial difficulties as well. It's been around for 100 years, though it changed its name a few years ago. And this was a funding for a project funding for BME-led women's projects, grants between £20,000 and £30,000, but that finished several months ago. This is just an example. You need to check the website for any up-to-date funding information. So we'll move on now and look briefly at central and local government. There are many grants. Government spending is still very significant. It's billions of pounds, of course, every year. If you want to get information about that, here's some good sites. Funding Central, I've already mentioned. The gov.uk site is a good one to look at. That's the All Government Services Online. You may have come across that while paying your car tax or other bills. The NCVO, there's some links on that, the National Council for Voluntary Organisations, and there's another website called Supply to Gov Tenders, which is all government tenders and contracts with gateways to particular sites on that. So all of those are worth looking at, but I'd say the gov.uk one is the one to start with. And if you add a /funding onto it, you'll get a lot of links. Charitable and trust funding. There are a lot of charitable trusts in the UK. The charitable trust funding value in the UK is approximately 4 billion. With inflation, it's probably, because this figure was from a few years ago, it's probably nearer 5 billion now, actually. So that's a lot of charitable trust funding grants which go out there. The net worth of charities was estimated to be 63 billion, and then mutuals and social enterprises, which is non-charitable organisations or non-charitable trusts, should I say, like the Co-op and various other organisations, are worth about 31 billion. So it's probably pushing 100 billion now. So that's significant funding that is out there. And of that 5 million in grants, and this is every year, 5 billion in grants every year, about 30% of that is targeted on health and wellbeing organisations. So that's, you know, in the region of 1.5 billion, which just shows how much money is out there. Despite the recession, etc., that money is still there. How do you locate these organisations? Again, a couple of websites I've already mentioned. Charity Excellence is one of them, and then the Grants Online has a lot of information about that. There are other sites. There are many sites with paywalls, but I'm trying to focus here today on ones that are not paywalls or that only have partial paywalls on them. But you know, there are a lot of charitable trusts out there. In terms of the lottery, there's a whole range of programs. These change regularly. These are some of the previous ones that I've listed there. The big lottery main grants program is constant. That's called Reaching Communities, and you can get a grant of up to £500,000, but you do have to jump through a lot of hoops to get onto that. And it's not advisable if you're new to this kind of funding. Awards for All is more feasible, but there are terms and conditions, and I'm going to mention those very shortly so you're aware of them. And let's have a look at a few other sources of funding. This is the Wellcome Trust, which is one of Britain's biggest drug companies, and it has a significant amount of funding. It's probably Britain's biggest charitable trust funder. It gives out over £700 million a year. See, that's how you get to this 5 billion. You know, one funder alone is giving 700 million a year. I mean, you know, they have got considerable resources. They advise the government on the pandemic. They produce and manufacture vaccines in partnership with other big drug companies, so they are not short of resources. This is one of their previous programs. Again, they often change things. What this focuses on is support for health and well-being, and mental health is one of their key focus areas through health-related research and science throughout the UK, and it can be illustrated using any creative methodology. So you can make a film about it, you can create some art, some digital media, drama, animation, etc., etc. That's one of the programs to engage the public with health-related research and science. And the grants on that were from £5,000 to 3 million. Unusually with the Wellcome Trust as well, they will fund individuals and they will fund profit-making companies, you know, depending on the focus of your project and whether it fits their focus. Most charitable trust funders will not fund individuals except on a hardship basis, and most of them will not fund companies limited by shares or profit-making companies. They will fund non-profits though, which is another area we do presentations on, development of social enterprises. But the Wellcome Trust has 14, 15 different strands and they're constantly changing. So you need to check the website out, and that's the Wellcome Trust. The next thing I would like to mention is crowdfunding. This is an area that is continuing to develop. How this works is that there's a number of sites out there, and probably the place to start is the one at the bottom of the slide, crowdfunder.co.uk. They operate in two distinct ways. If you're a non-profit making organisation, you've got a non-profit project, then you can put a project online and they will charge you between 4 and 9% of what you raised. Crowdfunder.co.uk do have some projects whereby they won't charge non-profits. They charge profit-making companies because they do fund some business projects as well. So it's worth looking at the site, even if you're a profit-making company. They will charge you between 4 and 9% of what you raise. It's about 5% at the moment, I think, plus some transaction fees. But if you're a charity or a non-profit, there is no charge. And what you do is you put a project online and you make a short video to support it. They usually advise about 2 minutes, because there's a lot of other videos on that site. So if people are looking at them, they're not going to look at them for too long. So there's no point on making a 2-hour blockbuster. And there's two schools of thought on this. One is you make the most attractive, specially developed video that you can, and invest some time and money in it. And the other is you do it in a kind of, you know, a grainy way on your iPhone or whatever you want to use, and make it look as though you need the funding, basically. Because of course, if you make a Hollywood movie type video, people might think, well, if they can afford that much on a video, why do they need our help? You know, this is based on some of the research they've done about that. What is the key to successful crowdfunding? There's two things really. Communities of influence or common bond. If you can latch onto an audience, or if you've already got people following your project or supporting it, whatever it is, and whether it's a community of interest or a geographic community, indeed, then it's more likely to succeed. But people have to know about it. You've got to drive traffic to the Pledger website, and you've got to have your own social media campaign in order to take it forward. If nobody knows about it, then they're not going to fund it, are they? So you really need to think about the social media and promotional side of it, because the most successful crowdfunding projects usually do that. There are some others like GoFundMe that will fund individuals or individual causes. They're a slightly different approach, but most of the principles are the same. The other thing you can do with crowdfunding is you can offer people rewards. Of course, you can't offer them cash because the idea is to get funding in. But for example, if you were an arts and wellbeing project, because I work with quite a few of those, you could offer people some artwork or some other support or free access to an event, whatever you think is appropriate. And it does depend on the level of donation for most of these organizations. The more you pay, potentially, the more benefits that you can give. But my advice, if you're looking at this, then go on one of the crowdfunding websites. Go on crowdfunder.co.uk and look for other projects that are similar to yours. There are many crowdfunding sites out there. I've just put a couple over here. Kickstarter is another one, which is an international fund, and that used to focus mainly on arts and creative industries, but it does do other things. There's some businesses on there these days, I believe, and many UK organizations use Kickstarter as well. So crowdfunding has been a developing area over the last few years, but it's not for everybody, and you do have to do quite a bit of work on this to make it succeed. But again, there's no reason why you can't succeed on this. Just make sure it's right for you, and you're able to do the work to make it successful. But look at those sites, please, if you're interested in crowdfunding, or indeed talk to us. Just going to give you a range of what CNT can provide very briefly. Visit our online store for a range of offers. Our website is cntassociates.com. You can go on there now, and we've got a shop that has a number of offers. But today you're going to get an email about this after the presentation. We have a special offer, a 1-hour Zoom or person-to-person coaching support, a copy of today's presentation, a copy of our fundraising guide, which is a 20-page guide to how to raise funds and write applications, a copy of the video for today, plus 1 hour's funding research for your project, and a list of 10 funders, and a lot of advice, tips, information, and advice. And also, last but not least, a copy of a short model funding application tailored to your project. The normal price for that, because there are some that offer is on our website, is £250 plus VAT, but we're reducing it by 30% to 175 plus VAT till next Monday, till 5 p.m. on the 23rd of January. But you can contact us for more details about that, or you can book it today. Let's move on now. Let's look at some other funders. A lot of wellbeing organisations are related to arts. This again is one of the funders that will fund individuals. They fund individual artists, and they offer awards from £1,000 to £100,000. You have to register with the Arts Council, and they've got a very cumbersome online portal called Grantium, if you've ever been through it, and it takes about 10 days to endorse you on that site. But once you're on, you can apply online for funding, but it is very, very competitive. They get a lot of funding, but a lot of it goes to bigger organizations. But you know, there are individual grants on there, and the lottery give them some funding as well for a lottery funded program. So that's the Arts Council, which will look at that link, and that will give you all the information you need about what the Arts Council can provide. Here's another one. Again, this is subject to change. The Paul Hamlin Foundation. I'm a big fan of the Paul Hamlin Foundation. Paul Hamlin was a millionaire publisher who died 40 years ago, but they put all his money into this foundation, which is still giving money. This was one of their previous funds, but again, these are subject to change. There was grants of up to £10,000, £15,000 in exceptional circumstances, available to individuals, partnerships, or small organizations. So again, check that website out. If that fund is not running right now, there'll be some other stuff on there that may be of interest. Here is another big funder, Innovate UK. Again, this is for digital projects and businesses. Innovate UK support those, and they do get significant government funding. They will accept applications from wellbeing organisations, but it's got to be digitally focused. It's got to be a digital project. It can't be a mainstream wellbeing project. It's got to be digitally focused. But many, for example, many wellbeing and mental health services are now digitally developed online. So, this is a potential funder for them. They've got a program called Smart Grants as well, which you can get up to £300,000, between £25,000 and £300,000, which funds regularly. But you need to do your research on this. The success rate is quite low, if you're new to bid writing, with the exception of this innovation voucher, you need to be quite wary of spending time writing a very, very long bid, because they are long bids to Innovate UK, unless you've really done your research and you've got some skills in bid writing. Here is, I mentioned this at the beginning, the Culture, Health and Wellbeing site. Here are some of the funders on the site. I'm going to mention a couple shortly. Includes the Bearing Foundation and a range of others. These are all well-established funders of different types of wellbeing. All the links are on that site. So it's definitely worth having a look, and it covers a variety of areas. The Rain Foundation, again, some of the founders of Tesco set this up, and there are a range of funding programs. You need to check the site, but you can get grants of up to £200,000, but it is subject to change, this, and what's there now may not necessarily be there right now, or it may come back at some other stage, because they do change them. But one of the areas they look at is, or two of the areas are, arts as a tool to achieve social change and young people's improved mental health. So if you're a project that focuses on those two, for example, then this is worth you having a look at. But there are other things that they will fund as well, so check out the website. Here's one some of you may have heard of, the People's Postcode Trusts, with 2 rounds of the year to apply. This is from the People's Postcode Lottery that funds this, and they are able to fund a wide range of organisations, but basically, if you're a charity, you can get funding up to £20,000 if you're a social enterprise, or other non-profit. It's up to about £2,000. That was at the time we last looked at it. So let's move on, because we're coming towards the end. This is Awards for All. This is one of the biggest strands of the lottery. and you can bid for a grant of up to £10,000. If you're a new or smaller organisation with an income or turnover up to £50,000, you can apply to this. If you're a sport, arts or heritage project, you have to go to Sport England for sport, for heritage and culture to the Heritage Lottery Fund, and to the Arts Council for arts related funding. But if you're a mainstream wellbeing project, for example, you can apply to the lottery. I've supported a number recently. I've supported an eating disorder project. I've supported some projects that do wellbeing mentoring in schools, some mental health projects in the community, and a wide range of others. And I've advised them all to apply for Awards for All funding, and most of them were successful. So that's a good one to look at. They will accept applications from new organisations, but you do have to have some infrastructure, and you can't bid to it as an individual. You've got to be a community group, a non-profit making organisation or company, or a charity, or have some other non-profit making structure. You can't be an individual or a profit making company to apply for Awards for All. But there are different terms and conditions for different lottery funds. But that's Awards for All, but definitely worth having a look at. Here is another one. This is the Esme Fairbairn Fund. That's been around for many, many years. You may not have heard of this, but in London they give out about 10 million. No, it's a national fund. It's in London alone they give out 10 million a year, but they do fund other parts of the projects in other parts of the UK as well. And I put them that some of the areas they focus on the screen: cultural activities, education and learning, participation of disadvantaged communities or people. And if you've got a wellbeing project that focuses around any of those areas on the screen, you can apply for them. So that's Esme Fairbairn. That's a two-part application. So if you get through stage one, it doesn't mean you're automatically going to get funded in stage two. There's still a second application hurdle on that particular funder. And that finishes the main presentation today. Here is a copy of our fundraising training pack. We do sell this, as you can see, it's on the screen there. If you want to buy a download of this, it will cost you £15. If you want a hard copy, including postage, it's £19.98. If you want to buy that, or you'll get it as part of the package that I mentioned earlier. And if you look at our website, the shop on our website, you can buy either individually or as part of a package on that. Okay, so that finishes the presentation of this part, but we've still got Sybil and Rachel to come, so please stay with us, and I will end the share now. If you've got any questions for me, then please ask them now.
Hi, sorry, I've got a question.
Hi, Jill.
I'm just trying to see how I can turn my camera on so people see you there, though. Yeah, hiya. Yeah, hi. That was really, really helpful, thank you. So I'm part of a housing association in the north of England.
Oh, yes.
Is the £120 offer open to us?
Of course it is. It's open to it's open to any organisation. If you want to contact us directly, Jill, I'll put the email address in the chat, and we can talk offline about that. But yeah, I can. Whereabouts is it? Your housing association?
We're in Lancashire, so it's
Lancashire, right? Oh, okay. Well, that's good because that's where I'm from originally. So, yeah, I've got some connections there. But yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you offline about this.
Thank you.
And yes, that offer does apply to everybody who's on this call today. Thank you, Marion.
Hi, thank you. This has been great, and I didn't have my screen on when you mentioned the bid. The organisation I think I need to go to. It was the one just before you said about the postcode lottery one. It was about an arts one, which is. Can you tell me what it was again, please?
I'm just checking on my presentation.
You know, when you look away and then go, oh my God, no, that one.
Yeah, let me just. It was just before the Arts Council or after it?
Just before the postcode lottery one. Postcode.
Right, okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, oh, that was the RAIN Foundation.
RAIN Foundation.
RAYNE. If you Google that, it will come up.
Thank you very much. Brilliant.
Okay, thank you for those questions. If you've got any more questions, you can put them in the chat now or contact us offline. Please email us and please look at our YouTube channel. We've got a YouTube channel. Please look at that. It's got many other presentations on it. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Sybil Mayard. So I just need to give her permission to share the screen, and then there we go. And then we're going to hear from Rachel, and thank you, Rachel, for joining us this morning. Okay, Sybil, over to you.
Thank you, Gary. So hi, everyone. My name is Sybil. I'm running a business called Sybil Tech, which provides website design and development to small businesses. So whether you have an existing website that you want to improve on, or you don't have a website yet and you want to build one, then I can help you with that too. And I have worked with some wellbeing organizations in the past, helping them improve their online presence. So one is called Happily, Clappily, Ever Laughter, which is all about laughter yoga, using laughter to improve your well-being. And another one I worked with is Find the Balance, and they are a yoga practice based in London. And I have been asked to provide 3 top tips for website development, specifically to well-being websites. So here are my 3 pieces of advice for you today. So firstly, you need to make sure that the purpose of your website is clear and it's easy to navigate. If I'm visiting your website for the first time, I'll be able to understand what it's all about within the first few seconds. And I shouldn't have to be searching all over the site to find out what your business is and what you're offering. So on the home page, you need to include relevant images and text, like a headline, for example, in the middle of the page or in the middle of the top of the page. It clearly illustrates who you are, what you do. And your website should also make it easy for visitors to find what they're looking for by having a logical structure and simple navigation. So usually at the top of the website, there'll be a menu, so you can navigate to any of the other pages from there. My second tip is to limit the number of colors and fonts that you use on your website, because using too many colors and fonts can make the site look confusing, or it can cause distraction, and also it looks unprofessional. So as a bonus tip, there are some colors that are particularly suited to well-being. So for example, green, which is a shade that's connected with nature, and also blue, which can have a calming effect. And also yellow, which is a bright color associated with positivity and happiness. So something to think about when designing a site, what kind of colors would be most suitable for creating that sense of well-being. And the third point I want to mention is include a strong call to action on your site. So if you don't know what that is, a call to action, or CTA, is something that prompts the visitor to take action, and is usually in the form of a button. So this could be something like contact us, book a session now, browse our store, and so on. So if you're a wellbeing organization, perhaps you're offering some sessions like yoga sessions, your call to action might be book now. So it's got to be clear on your site what you want your visitors to do. So think about what the main purpose of your website is and what's the action that you ultimately want these people to take when they're on your site.
Sorry to interrupt.
So,
Please showing us some slides because we can't see anything.
yeah, I'm not actually sharing any slides right now.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. So those were my 3 top tips for wellbeing sites, and I hope that was helpful. Thank you.
Does anybody wish to ask Sybil any questions about what she's just mentioned? No, I can't see anybody. So if you've got any questions, please put them in the chat or contact us offline. And Sybil's organisation is called Sybil Tech. If you want to check that out online, and Sybil, maybe we can put your contact details in the chat while you're there. Okay, thank you for that. I'm now going to hand over to Rachel Barham from the Federation of Small Businesses. Good to see you, Rachel. Happy New Year, etc., etc. Over to you.
Thank you, Gary. Hi, everybody. As Gary said, I'm Rachel Barham. I'm a membership advisor for FSB, which is the Federation of Small Businesses. I think, because I've been looking up everybody on here quickly on LinkedIn for anybody that I can find, I think a lot of you may be working with charities or social enterprises, etc., or even volunteering. So if what I'm saying doesn't specifically apply to you, please feed it back to the relevant people, because it's so beneficial to charities, social enterprises, etc. But FSB works with self-employed and small business owners, supporting them through anything business related. It's one of those things that when we start businesses or we start a social enterprise, we suddenly become aware of how many different hats we've got to wear, and it can be really daunting and quite scary at times. But we're here to actually make things easier for small businesses. So membership provides a package of benefits that are all the foundations of business. So whether it is things like legal advice, legal documents, help with insurances, banking, health and safety, you name it, and so much more. What I'm going to do today is actually, rather than sort of tell you all about those different benefits, I've picked out 3 just by coincidence, the Sybil, but we've got 3 benefits that are actually tailored around wellbeing. The first one is actually FSB Care. Now, everybody on here works in a wellbeing organisation, but quite often business owners forget to actually look after their own wellbeing. So FSB Care is actually there to look after you, and it gives our members access to dedicated nurse practitioners should they have or develop a long-term medical condition, and that actually includes mental health as well. I know quite often when business owners suffer, especially with the mental health side of things, they don't always want to talk to friends, family, they want to stay strong. So this actually gives them somebody that they can actually talk to outside of their normal network, I suppose. It also gives an allowance of £250 per condition should they deem that they actually think you should see somebody really quickly, because unfortunately we all know the NHS is taking a long time to get through to consultants or seek the advice that you need. So that £250 can actually pay for approximately 4 counselling sessions, for example, or it might be that they feel that you need a course of acupuncture or to see a consultant. It is there to be used as they deem necessary. The second benefit, which is actually a very new one, it only came in towards the end of last year, is FSB e-learning. Now, there's lots of mandatory training that businesses require. We used to do a very small bit of health and safety, but they weren't accredited courses. So now FSB e-learning enables business owners and their employees to gain licenses to e-learning certified courses. On the list of courses, there is about 700 now. It is growing all the time, and lots of them are actually around well-being, helping companies and businesses understand dyslexia, ADHD, all of the different types of conditions that people may have that doesn't make them any less a good employee, but actually sometimes we need to adapt how we're working with people. So there's lots of that sort of support as well. But there's also sales and marketing help, computer tech, business, finance, etc. So there's absolutely loads on there. Members can purchase significantly discounted licenses, and you can do as many courses in that year of that license as you want to. The third benefit, which again is a relatively new one, is called FSB Perks, and it's a bit like an employee benefits package. It's a health and wellbeing package that members can purchase for themselves, but also employees as well, because unfortunately as small businesses, these types of benefits are not available. If any of you have worked in corporate companies, you more than likely would have had an employee benefits package available to you. But as small businesses, we're priced out of the market. We can't get those types of packages because they clearly don't want our business, so they outprice us. So FSB has brought together its own one, and that gives things like cashback schemes, discounts on gym membership. There's online doctors 24/7. There's an element of online counselling, discounts on eye tests, etc. Gym online sessions. There's absolutely loads, and it can be purchased monthly, quarterly, or annually, depending on what a member wants to do. And it covers the whole household. So you only actually need one FSB Perks membership per household. It's amazing, and you can top it up. So if people feel that they might actually need face-to-face counselling, you can pay slightly extra and you'd have that available. But they're the 3 well-being type benefits. On the other side of things, the legal side, especially for all small businesses, we offer our members free business legal advice. So whether that is discussions around contracts and trading, employment, tax and VAT, GDPR, you name it, there is access via the helpline, again, 24/7. I won't go into any more detail about the membership itself, because everybody's businesses are so different. There's about 26 different benefits available as a member. But if you'd like to have a chat, I've already put my details into the chat, but feel free to make contact. We can have a chat. I can learn more about what your businesses do, and then also talk to you about the relevant benefits to you. Thank you, Gary.
Okay, thank you very much. If anybody's got any questions for Rachel right now, then please ask away or put them in the chat. I can't see anybody now. I mean, personally, I am a member of FSB. It's a non-profit and provides a wide range of benefits. So I would strongly recommend you consider joining, especially if your business is active and trading. Okay, I think that's run like clockwork today, almost exactly to time. It's been really good to see you all. As I say, I just want to remind you about the CNT YouTube channel. I'd be very grateful if you would like and subscribe to it, which is free. There's a lot of resources. We want to put a lot more free resources out there to help you. And if you need any services from us, we do the full range of bid and application, form filling, funding research, and a range of other services around business support and training. And we work in partnership with a lot of other organisations, including businesses, non-profit making organisations, charities, housing associations, local authorities, and others. And we're always very pleased to talk to you. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you got some value out of this. We have a range of other presentations coming up. I'm just looking at the charts above me for the next one. The next one is on the 31st of January, and it's about business and e-commerce, which will be a joint presentation between Sybil and myself about how to get your business online and the benefits of e-commerce. So I hope some of you will find that of interest, and please, you can register for free to that one today. And thank you all for joining us. It's much appreciated. Have a good day. And I'll now sign off from a very cold London. I hope things warm up in the next few days. And thank you, particularly Sybil and Rachel, for joining me as usual. And we'll see you all soon. Take care.